No, but the dog poop, I can't get that out of my mind.
I know.
It just is stuck there.
I know that was like one. You know, occasionally you'll hear a story, and it just kind of stands above all stories or many.
Yeah.
That one definitely just sticks in my brain.
I'm kind of thinking it's going to be there for about 5 years.
Probably. Maybe that's why there's so many poop scooping services popping up all over the country, is because
that's right.
This
yeah, people are getting divorced because they won't clean up the dog's poop.
Hey everybody, I am Chuck Rogers and my very good friend Keith Dunn, and together we are Tabletop Coffee, where we talk about doing life, doing it well by being bold and never ever bitter.
Absolutely.
It's the only way to be, right?
Yeah.
And tonight we are going to spend time talking about, what are we going to talk about?
Logger something.
Oh yeah, Loggerhead Issues.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Loggerhead Issues. Have you ever had an issue come up with someone that you care about, and it's just one of those places where you just can't seem to get past it?
You know, I was listening to some music by Loggerhead this afternoon.
I'm quite sure you were.
It was Kenny Loggerhead. Highway to
That's
the
exactly,
danger,
that's
danger
exactly,
zone?
yeah, that's exactly who that was.
Or Welcome to Pooh Corner. Pooh Corner. Do you remember Pooh Corner?
I do not.
Oh, come on. Really?
Are you serious?
Yes, I am serious.
Because the last time we talked, you were talking about...
I know, but this is true. This is real.
Somewhere
Welcome
Over the
to
Rainbow being sung by
Sammy Hagar.
Sammy Hagar.
Yeah, well, I didn't even bring up Sammy Hagar. I'm talking about Kenny Loggerhead. Loggins,
yes.
Come on. Pooh Corner, man.
No, serious?
Yes. We're going to play that. We're going to play a little snippet so you can hear. But everybody else is going to say, how do you not know Pooh Corner?
Only if you can, I've got to get back to the house at Pooh Corner by one.
Not heard that song before.
I have not.
Okay, so we just proved that Kenny Loggins sings Pooh Corner. You mentioned that we're talking about Loggerhead issues, and it sounds like just logs beating together. So I'm assuming it's just relationships where they don't get along or they have different ways of seeing things.
Yeah, I mean the term actually comes from, years ago they would float the logs down the river and going toward the sawmill, and sometimes they would get all clustered, and you would have to remove a particular log, and then oftentimes it would set the rest of the logs free so they could go on down the river. And so people typically, or sometimes, will get into these places in their relationship where no matter what they do, what they say, they just can't seem to get back in the flow and move forward. They just are stuck on an issue, and they just stay stuck on it and just can't get past it.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. And that would happen in any type of relationship, whether you're married or dating or work relationships, friendships. I can see that happening across the board, no matter what.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Gottmans talk about how 69% of the time the problems that married couples have are just totally unsolvable, and only about 31% can actually be solved. And so rather than have look at problem solving, you have to look at problem management. So it's not just a play on words, it really is a way of life.
Okay.
Because I just think one way about some things. My wife, Kim, thinks one way about certain things, and there's no amount of talking it out that's going to be where she changes my mind or I change her mind. We just see this issue very, very differently, and you've got to develop a comfort level, at least a tolerance level, but hopefully even a comfort level with there being these places in your relationship where you're just going to have to agree to disagree about things.
So I was thinking back to the dance videos that we were doing.
Right.
And there was a segment in there where I think I mentioned, what happens in a relationship when you're trying to turn towards each other, but you just don't agree, and there's no way to resolve that, because this person believes this way and this person believes that way, but you still want to have relationship, so you can't be angry at each other. You have to be accepting in some way. So
yeah, this is a tough issue.
That sounds like a loggerhead issue.
It is, and this is going to be a different video segment tonight, because the ones we have been doing have been ones where we kind of bring up a topic, we somewhat resolve it and put it away. And this one is not really that way. It's not so cut and dry. It's certainly not the Q&A. Remember when Tim and John talk about this?
The Q&R, question and response.
Question and response.
Right.
So this is going to be like that tonight. It's more questions and some responses, and not necessarily an answer to the issue, other than the realization that the research says that most problems that married couples have are totally unsolvable. Now, sometimes I'll have people come in. One guy said to me, he said, "Seriously?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "Oh, man, that was worth the money for the day right there." And I said, "Well, why?" He said, "Because I just thought we were broken. I just thought there was something super wrong with us, because we have this very important issue that we see so differently. And I can't convince her of how wrong she is, and she can't convince me of how wrong I am. And so we just stay stuck in this place." He said, "It's been very unfun." He said, "It's just comforting to me to know that it's going to be that way."
Well, I can see that. And I think, no matter what relationship you're in, you have these times where you're just not going to see eye to eye.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's 69%, sometimes I wonder if that's low, because there are a lot of times that you don't agree with each other, but you still have to move forward and show love to one another and find ways around that. So how do you start that? What's the process there?
Well, I'll oftentimes tell a story.
Okay.
The movie,
I love your stories.
Yeah. Well, I tell a story, and the one I usually tell is not of my own. It's usually one that I borrow from John Gottman.
Okay.
During, I think it was level 1 training, John was talking about this particular issue of things that are just unsolvable. They're just there for the couple. And then he says, "I'll tell you my favorite loggerhead story." And so I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is great. Good to hear this story." Whenever I run into a loggerhead story with a couple, I tell this story.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell it the way I remember it. It's been so long ago, so my apologies to the Gottmans if I'm telling it wrong. But this couple came to see them for therapy. The situation was, I think the lady was in graduate school, and the husband traveled on business quite a bit, and they lived in a rather rural area. She says, "Hey, I'd like to get a dog." So she made a request, and he goes, "Nah, I don't want a dog." Mm-hmm. And so she was like, no, I really want a dog. And so he said, "No, I don't want it." So she let it drop.
Okay.
Well, he continues to travel, and she's there by herself a lot, and so it comes up again. So she says, I really would like to get a dog." And he said, "Well, why do you want a dog?" And she says, "Well, you're gone quite a bit, and it would just be some company for me."
That makes sense.
It does. And he wasn't unsympathetic to that. And she says, "Plus, it's kind of scary here sometimes, and it doesn't have to be a big dog, just maybe a dog, extra set of ears to hear." "Yeah, I get that. I just don't want a dog. It's a lot of responsibility. There's the walking the dog, and there's the feeding the dog, and there's the vets and all the stuff that comes along with the dog. And I just don't want a dog." So she let it drop. Well, his birthday rolls around, and she buys him a dog.
Oh, no.
Actually,
his birthday.
His birthday, yeah. And he was really angry.
I bet.
And
words. Thank you for giving me what you want for my birthday.
So he was really angry, really upset about this. And then she was kind of like, "Well, it'll grow on him."
Right.
And it didn't.
Oh.
So time continued to pass. Negative passion continues to grow. And one day, the dog poops under his desk in the study there in the house.
That's terrible.
And he says to her, "Your dog pooped under my desk." She says, "Well, clean it up."
Are you going to remove that?
I beg your pardon.
Pick it up and put it in the trash.
Absolutely not.
And he said, "It's not my dog." And she says, "It's not my desk." He says, "It's not a big deal." She says, "Well, if it's not a big deal, you clean it up." You know, tit for tat, banter
Oh,
for
yeah.
banter, all the time, bringing more distance as opposed to connection,
Right.
which is, you know, what we want.
You're going to be right instead of having a relationship.
Oh, yeah. So let me just pause the story for a minute. Earlier in the training, John had been talking about what a master couple is.
Okay.
And a master couple is a couple who they do it well. They make decisions I don't like, they make decisions you don't like, but they report happiness in the
Right.
relationship.
Sure.
So that's a master couple. So I had that in the back of my head, okay?
Okay.
So John says, so they had this loggerhead issue and they couldn't get past it, but they finally decided how to solve the problem. And I'm
Okay. Yeah.
oh,
What did they come
yeah.
up with?
yeah. He says they finally decided to hire somebody to come in and clean it up.
Okay. That was smart.
Yeah. And I was like, you know, my head was spinning. Well,
Okay.
okay, it wouldn't be what I would do,
No.
but hey, you know, they're a master couple. They make decisions I don't like, they make decisions you don't like, and they came up with a way, we'll have somebody to come in and clean up the dog poo.
Right.
So he's telling the story, and he said they finally decided how to solve this problem. They decided to have somebody come in and clean it up, and he took a pause. 5 years later, while they're filing for divorce.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
5 years.
Oh my gosh, I remember just could have bought and sold me for $1 right there.
How can you leave it there for 5 years?
I guess just the contempt was just huge, you know. Being right was more important than relationship or cleaning up some
Yeah.
poo. I mean, think about how mindful this became.
Yes.
Because after a while, it's not even going to smell. It's going to
Mhm.
dehydrate, probably turn white.
Yeah.
But it's just going to sit there. And my guess is he used the study.
And then he'd see it every
He'd see
single
it, so
time.
he'd have to kind of lean over and write or type or straddle it and write or type or move in close enough and put your feet over top of it. And you do that for 5 years?
Mm.
Wow.
So not a master couple at all.
No, not really. So, and my students will oftentimes, my students who are in residency will say, you know, what do you do when you have a couple who has an issue they just can't get past? I say, I tell a story.
Yeah.
And I tell that story because oftentimes the power of story sometimes can change how we see things.
Right.
And I want people to be able to see, do you want this to happen? Not that this would happen to you, but do you
Sure.
want poo to prevent you from having connection, intimacy that you really want?
You know, I wonder if you went back and talked to that couple after they went through their divorce.
Yeah.
You know, a year or two, or the way they're going, 5 years later, and say, did you make the right choice? Do you really believe that was the right way to go about it? And could you have prevented it? So talking about that,
Mhm.
looking at that and seeing that situation, what would be the better way to handle that? Because, you know, I almost think that it would have to be something you would need to handle pretty quick. At least not let days or weeks go by, especially with dog poo. Because, I mean, think about it. You're leaning over this and looking down, and you're going to get madder every single time you look at that, which creates separation and more distance and
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to the whole piece. Do you want to be right,
right.
or do you want relationship?
That's correct.
And, you know, hey, I don't know who's right or who's wrong here. Probably have ideas about it, but I'll be darned if I'm going to let this stand in the way of me having connection with my partner.
That's a tough one, and there's not really an answer to that. It's
No.
just
It's
you need to understand each other's side and figure out a solution. So that goes into resolution-based thinking to some degree, and trying to figure out, okay, so let's work together. We don't agree with each other. What's the resolution? What can we both deal with in this
Well,
situation?
it goes back to the other video on request making.
Yeah. Oh,
as
that's
well.
such a great video.
Well, I don't know for sure how to be able to move forward, but I'd like to make a request of how I think it might work.
Yeah.
So then you can try that one for a while and just see if it works. Good topic. Tough topic.
Yeah. Oh, really tough.
Yeah.
Now, hey, we have mentioned or referenced a number of videos in this segment,
I'm sure we have.
and we will put those down in the description below, especially the dance. That's a 5-video segment, D-A-N-C-N-E. Definitely want to check that out. It is really good. And then you just mentioned request making. That's another good one. So we'll put all of those down below. Be sure to check those out. Let us know what you think.
Remember to
If you like these videos,
kick the bell.
kick the bell, click the subscribe button, and
Like it.
like it. You know, as we were going through all of this, I was thinking all of this information is great to start with, but it might be, especially with this one, because there's no real solution. It's not
Right.
it's not defined. It can go in any direction, and people have to come up with their own ways of getting to that 100%.
Right.
So if you're having a tough time getting to that 100%, or maybe you have gotten to that 100%,
You still can't move.
but you still can't move.
Yeah.
You don't know how to do this, and you're fearful that you're going to have dog poop on the floor for the next 5 years. I mean, seriously.
I know.
Yeah. You might need to reach out on this one and get some help past the video series that we have on this.
Yeah, the only thing wrong is to keep doing what you've been doing. It's just
Oh,
not
yeah.
working. So
Right.
maybe reach out to somebody in your area. Also, if maybe folks live in the Lynchburg area, they can come to see us at Windhurst Counseling Center.
Sure.
If you live outside of the Lynchburg area, you can come in for a 1 or 2 day intensive, or electronic coaching works really well, such
Oh,
as
yeah, this would be-
FaceTime or Skype works really well too. So
Right.
we would be able to help a lot of people.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, be sure to reach out if you're having that issue and you just can't quite make it work.
Yeah, thanks for the plug.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Till next time.